Hello everybody and welcome to Hawkeye FX Weekly Review with your host Marcus Toombs, and this is for Monday the 17th of July 2017. Okay, so if you remember last week we were looking for yen strength to come in to the market, although we were looking back at what happened at this previous point in time here. We know that it takes time for a currency to turn from this low in the charts and to come into strength. We're looking for pound weakness, euro weakness, possibly some US dollar strength, the Canada to continue strengthening into the interest rate decision, and we were at the time looking for Aussie weakness. Okay, so before we go on and look at what happened, let's just look at the economical calendar for this week coming. So as usual, I look at only the tier 1 data releases. Wednesday we kick off the US data with the building permits. On Thursday it's our largest day. We've got the monetary policy statement from the Japanese, and then the European interest rate decision to come. Between that we've got retail sales from the pound, which are expected to be much better than previously. And then on Friday we have CPI out of Canada. Okay, so let's relate all of these to each of our currencies, and we'll start off with the yen. We know this was turning up here. If we go to the yen on the 240 charts here, and I put the cursor on the beginning of last week. Now, if you can imagine running up to this cursor line here, it didn't look like the yen was going to turn at all, and it was in a strongly weakening, all the colours not magenta. You can see here it has turned and started to strengthen in accordance with the fat man, certainly more against US dollar here. But we were correct in saying that it does take a while to turn. So you can see here the euro made a further high from the point at which we were looking. The pound made a further high before some weakness came in. And you can see here the Canadian, the interest rate decision also made a further high. And you can see here the Aussie yen is continued to weaken against the Aussie, and that's because the Aussie is currently our strongest currency. So in that regard, I'm still looking for this strength. Once we go over the halfway line, we'll come into real strength here, but be very careful with the interest rate decision from yen on Thursday. Now the Aussie was a surprise package here, turning very, very sharply. And if you see a 90-degree bend in the daily, then always go and have a look at that currency straight away. You can see here it came up. This was on the back of much better data out of China, which are the biggest trading partners. If we go to the charts, we will see that the Aussie has indeed strengthened very nicely against all of the six currency pairs throughout last week. Now on the weakening side, we're looking for further US dollar weakness. As you can see, we turned down strongly at 90-degree bend here. And if we go to the US dollar charts, you will see that the US dollar is our weakest currency at the moment, weakening certainly on the back of some poor data last week against all of the 6 major currency pairs. The euro here has weakened. We had this little upturn and then it turned down in the middle of last week. So if you see here on the 240 timeframes, this was Monday here, and the yen had this little surge of extra strength here before finally turning down and weakening, as you can see here, against all of the 5 currencies, except really for the US dollar, which in itself also turned down and weakened underneath the euro. Now looking at the pound will continue to weaken down through last week, and it just had the extra spurt last week, breaking through the 1.300 level with the US dollar. And looking at the 240-minute charts here, you can see we have come off the highs, certainly against the yen, turning down here. The euro we strengthened, but just recently weakened, and weakening against the Canadian, the Aussie here, and we're just consolidating and going sideways against the New Zealand. Now, long term, we're looking for pound strength still, so this pullback here may quite be laboured and quite slow as we go down. We shall certainly be looking for this market and see what the pound is going to do here. If it turns back up strongly, this will be on a shoulder pattern here, and this we can run this right up here, and there'll be good strength in the pound. We could also see this turn down again now on a double shoulder this way, and come down for further weakness before turning up. Finally, the Canadian, you can see here, up to big strength, and through the interest rate decision, it's now turned down. We will be looking for this currency to consolidate those gains, possibly weaken, have a pullback in the trend, and then we should be looking for further strength in the coming weeks. Okay, in summary then, I'm looking for Japanese strength and Aussie strength, further weakness from the US dollar, euro and the pound, But please do bear in mind the interest rates decisions on Thursday from the euro and the Japanese yen.